Hi there. Thought I'd just drop in and do a video today about the 5 elements of traditional Chinese medicine. So this is something that I talk to people on a daily basis about in my clinic. And it's the foundations of life in this theory, and practitioners such as myself believe that this is where the answers lie for you in what's going on in your mind and body. So it's deeply rooted in Chinese culture, so much so that it is actually the foundations for feng shui and also martial arts. So for those of you who've seen me in clinic, you'll know a little bit about what I'm talking to you about today. And for others, it will be a great insight for you. So the 5 elements are used to describe the cycle of a day and of a year and of a lifetime. And each of the elements has particular physiology and psychology attached to it. So when you come into clinic, I ask you lots and lots of questions from head to foot, from inside out, from your history, things that have happened to you over the course of your life. And when I'm asking those questions, I'm sort of categorizing those into this 5 element theory. So I work out from your birth date what's called a constitution. So that's basically your behavioral patterns and also what drives you. So very often all of these signs and symptoms can actually be mapped to your constitution. But long-term disharmony in one of the elements will actually have a flow-on effect to all of the other elements. So we do need to sort of work out sometimes, what happened in what order, and work out whether the disharmony started in one particular element or another one. And when we have that negative feedback cycle in all of the elements, it actually negatively affects our chi, or our vital force, our life force in our body. But when everything's in harmony for us, however, we all display or express these elements in a smooth flow so that our chi or energy actually flows well around your body. So let's have a look at all of the 5 elements in a little bit more detail today. I'm going to do videos on each of the elements separately, but I just thought I'd give you a little bit of a rundown today on all of the 5 elements. When I talk about an organ, it doesn't mean the organ itself. It actually means the channel and to the organ to a degree, but it really does not mean that there's anything medically wrong with your organs. This is a Chinese medicine theory. So that's really important for you to know. So I don't want you to freak out if I'm saying there's something wrong with your liver, for example. So you can still have actually disharmony or dysfunction in a channel, even when an organ's been removed, like your gallbladder. So your gallbladder, everyone knows you can live without it, but you still can have patterns of disharmony or dysfunction with your gallbladder channel, even with your gallbladder not being there. So our first element is water. So water is the origins of life in Chinese 5-element theory. Your kidney qi, the water element controls your kidneys and your bladder. So the kidney qi is said to be your original qi, which controls or governs the length and quality of your life. So it's really important to look after your kidneys for that reason. The ultimate goal for water people is about will and wisdom. And also connection. So connection with yourself and also from other people. So psychology with it: fear, trust, safety, security, connection. Physical associations, just looking at my notes here so that I don't forget anything for you. The kidneys, the bladder, obviously, your ears and your hearing, bones, your lower back, growth and development, particularly in children, your hamstrings, your knees, your Achilles, your heels, your ankles, soft tinnitus, so very faint tinnitus, waking up a lot at night time, being a light sleeper, adrenal issues, and more of a fear style anxiety. So we mostly associate the water element with the season of winter because it is cold. Water people like salty sorts of foods, and there's a particular spirit called the Ji, which is associated with the water element, and that is about will and wisdom. So water people can be quite fearful they can be incredibly driven. They can also stand just off their heels, just as though they're ready to run. They like their time alone to recharge. They withdraw to feel safe. Excuse me. They withdraw to feel safe, and they can also try to control their environment if they're not feeling so safe. They don't try to control people, they try to control their environment. So it's all about safety for water people, which is a basic survival need. If we don't feel safe, we feel fear, and then we need to control our environment in order to regain that feeling of safety. So the other thing that happens is if we don't feel instinctively safe, we don't trust our inner knowing. So, and then we rely on our intellect to keep us safe, which makes us think a lot. So this puts our mind in control and makes us feel further unsafe because we're not trusting our instincts to keep us safe. So for water people, that instinct thing, it's more than a gut feeling. It's like it's deeper than that. It's an inner knowing. So the intellect is about how much you've learned. So that's about your mind. Whereas the instinct and the intuition that we all have is about what your body just knows. It's about your heart. So, but when you think too much, your mind takes over and it stops listening to the body. And that's when we can start to see patterns of disharmony. So the last thing, water people crave connection, but it's hard to connect with others when we can't connect with ourselves. So let's move on now to the wood element. I see lots of imbalance in clinic as the liver, which the wood element controls, is very affected by stress. So a lot of the times it's not our situation that causes the stress, it's actually our minds and our body's reaction that contributes to the stress that we feel. The wood element controls the liver and the gallbladder. And the ultimate goal for wood people is benevolence. And a lot of people actually don't know what this means. What this actually means is being able to observe something without judgment or criticism. Psychology that comes up with the wood element is anger, frustration, resentment, judgment, acceptance. So, and physical things that happen, things with the eyes, things with the ears, if it's loud tinnitus, so that really roaring style, muscles and sinews, anyone tight or stiff by any chance, headaches, migraines, reflux or heartburn, pain down the sides of the body, psoriasis separately to other skin conditions. Waking between 1 and 3 a.m. tells me there's something going on with your liver, that's for sure. When it's hard to get up in the morning, floaters or redness in your eyes, vivid dreams, depression, and also jealousy. We associate mostly the wood element with the season of spring, and woody people tend to like sour type foods. This spirit is called the Hun. That's the ethereal soul, and that's part of our spirit that survives once we pass over. So the key things with wood people, they don't like to feel stuck and frustrated. They always have to be progressing and achieving and moving forward, and they are great perfectionists. They have a plan. They don't like the plan to change unless they change it. The woody kids in particular respond quite well to in 5 minutes, then we're going to. They usually don't take it too well when we just change the plan on them without any warning at all. The wood people, they're very hard on themselves and they suffer greatly from their view of what their imperfections are, and also from a condition called comparisonitis, which is comparing yourself to other people. Now, gallbladder and liver people in this element are actually quite different. The liver people, they tend to be more directive. They believe they're right. They will work like dogs to achieve perfection. Gallbladdery people can be a little bit more timid. They can struggle to make decisions in case they're wrong because they don't like to be criticised, and they will avoid things unless they're sure that they can be perfect with it the first time. Now, liver people will also be more overtly angry and frustrated. They're not so shy in showing how they feel in that regard, whereas gallbladder people can be a little bit more habitual and timid in that regard, but they will explode like a clap of thunder. All right, moving on to the fire element. The fire controls the heart or governs the heart. And in Chinese medicine, the heart's the emperor. It's the ruler. We know this because when the heart stops, that's it. So we see the mind as the prime minister, can make good decisions, sometimes doesn't. And the prime minister also focuses, or the mind focuses on the future or the past. It's not actually focusing on what's going on right now, because that's the heart's job. The heart knows what it wants, and it wants it right now. So when we've got the mind and the heart working in harmony, then we actually call that heart-centered reasoning, so which gives us smooth flow of qi in the body, which is really what it's all about. Okay, so the fire element controls obviously the heart. It also controls the small intestine, the pericardium, which is the protection around the heart, and this concept called the Sanjiao, or triple heater, triple warmer in Chinese medicine. That's basically where all the channels of the body run through one of these things at some point, one of the triple points, and so that's actually quite important in the total functioning of the body. So the season associated mostly with the heart is summer. And the ultimate goal for fire people is actually about right action or proper action. They physically, obviously anything to do with the heart, blood pressure issues, disturbed sleep, psychological disturbances and disorders, things to do with the chest and breathing, and people who can be quite bitter or sarcastic as a coping method. That's usually a pretty good indicator that something's not right from a heart-centered space for them. The spirit is called the Shen, and that's actually about the consciousness. So the consciousness being the ruler and the heart being the ruler. So fire types, it's really simple. They just want to be loved. They don't want to be hurt. They don't like that very much. And when they get hurt, they'll actually put that cage or protection around their heart to avoid that happening again. They can be overly emotional. They can be really deadpan and clinical as well. So they're very concerned with the right way to do things and can be very proper. They can also be quite the risk taker as well, because they're trying to find joy. In balance, the fire types will have a childlike sense of wonder and joy in everything. So moving on to Earth. The term Earth Mother exists for a reason. Earth people are people pleasers. They give to everyone else, often at the expense of themselves. They need others to be happy first. Earthy types are really good also at overthinking and overanalyzing, and they spend a lot of time in their heads, and that's really exhausting. The earth element controls the stomach and the spleen, and the ultimate goal for earth people is actually true intent or meaning and purpose. They are the overthinking, overanalyzing, worry, obsession, people pleasing, as I said. Physical stuff, they can get a lot of physical stuff. So digestive issues, blood sugar regulation, bloating, trouble going to sleep, a good old 3 p.m. slump, that's a really good indicator for us. They tend to feel cold, they've got a slow metabolism, undigested food in their stools, diarrhea, bruising, prolapse, so anything that's not staying in its place where it should. Nutrients in the blood, the quality of the blood, things like iron deficiency would be part of an earth element issue. Thinking type anxiety because of the overthinking, and also chronic fatigue. So the season with the earth element is late summer. So we've just gone into March now for anyone watching later on, but sort of that late end of summer. So earthy people love sweet stuff. And the spirit for the earth element is the Yi, which is about the mind and concrete thinking. So earthy types, they're people pleasers. Eventually they will get angry and indignant when people don't take on their advice or do what they want, basically. Or also if they're being taken advantage of and they feel that that's happening after obviously quite a period of time. Earth people struggle with saying no. And they also can't sleep generally particularly well, getting to sleep because of the overthinking and overanalyzing of everything. Earth people typically hate the concept of selfishness. However, in rare cases, they can actually be quite selfish people. Their digestion suffers as a result of the overthinking and all poor food choices as well, because that damages the spleen, and from a Chinese medicine perspective, and the spleen is our digestive fire. Life is much easier for Earth people when they spend less time trying to solve everyone else's problems and more time trying to help themselves, or acting with that true intent. So in alignment with what their body needs. And again, listening to the heart or the emperor. Okay, moving on to the metal element. So the metal people can be very black and white in their approach to life. They don't often see the shades of grey. They're people that respond well to recognition. They don't like to be ignored. And they tend to be motivated by money, but that's more for the value because they see money as being of value. The metal element controls the lungs and the large intestine. And the ultimate goal for the metal people is reverence and connection with the spirit or their self-worth. Psychology, grief, guilt, value, respect, acknowledgement. That's where that self-worth comes in, because worth and value are pretty much interchangeable concepts. Physical stuff, asthma, eczema, skin conditions, lung conditions, dry skin, constipation, I'll come back to that in a second. Bowel issues, waking between 3 and 5 o'clock in the morning, immune system issues, and also neck and shoulder stuff. And that's because they carry the weight of the world with them on their shoulders. The season that's associated with the metal element is autumn, and they tend to like pungent type foods. Their spirit is called the Po, which is the corporeal soul. So that's a part of our spirit that stays with us and doesn't pass over when we die. It stays with us. Metal types can be hoarders. They can hang on to the things that they might think are of value and get rid of stuff because they think that it's worthless. Sometimes they cycle endlessly between the two as well. And this is because they don't understand what's of value, which is actually themselves. It's not the stuff or the people, it's themselves. Metal people can hide behind a mask, presenting the image of themselves that they think will make people like them. But the other thing they can do is hide behind that so that no one can actually ever see the real them, because then they can't get hurt. Now, the reason for this is actually because of that intrinsic lack of self-worth. If I hide behind the mask, you can never see how I really feel about myself. They tend to have memories like elephants, and they never let anything go emotionally, which is why they get that shoulder and neck stuff. And that's also why they get constipation, because if you can't let go of stuff physically, you can't let go of it emotionally either. So when we resolve some of those past hurts and process stuff, just so you're not hanging on to it, then we're able to help you to let go of a lot of stuff, which feels much better for you, much lighter. But the key for metal people is acknowledging your self-worth. You are worthy. All right. So, now, I have talked about the wood people, I believe. Okay, so that's the end of it. That's an overview of the traditional 5 elements, and don't worry about it. These things show us where stuff's out of balance. So if you're associating with a lot of the things that are going on, that's okay. That just shows us where the imbalance are. That's my job to figure out, and my job to figure out kind of where it starts, because that's where we go back to your constitution, figure out where stuff started to get out of balance for you, and go back there to work things out. But when we get that imbalance, the flow-on effect usually helps everything else to get back into balance, which is awesome. So in harmony, all of the elements express themselves in their positive forms. So the acceptance and the self-worth and the love and the meaning and purpose and that will and wisdom. So that all comes out easily in us, that just makes life easier for us. So I'm actually going to go into later on, I'm going to go into deep dives into each of the 5 elements. So there'll be particular videos on each of them so that you can go more in depth and have a look at those if they're of interest to you. Okay, so if you would like to book in for an appointment with me, what you can do is go to kinesialis.com.au /book and just follow through there. Otherwise, you can find me on social media and you can always give me a call. Thanks very much. Bye.